Welcome to Sandisa TV. Today, we're diving deep into the chilling psychological thriller from 2022 about a woman whose worst fears might not just be in her head. Before we get started, remember, this recap contains major spoilers. If you haven't watched it yet and want to keep the suspense intact, maybe go check it out first. But if you love a good breakdown of tension, paranoia, and psychological torment, you're in the right place. Don't forget to like and subscribe, because unlike the characters in this film, I promise I'm not watching you. A fresh start, or a nightmare in disguise. Our story follows Julia and her husband Francis, a young American couple relocating to the heart of Romania. Bucharest, with its old-world charm and unfamiliar language, promises a fresh start for Francis's career. But for Julia, who left behind her acting career, the city feels isolating, like she's playing a role in a movie where she doesn't know the script. Their new apartment is modern, spacious, and equipped with a giant picture window that offers a great view of the city, and, unfortunately, allows the city to get a great view of Julia. While Francis is busy adjusting to his new job, Julia spends her days alone, trying to immerse herself in the unfamiliar culture. But the excitement of a new place quickly turns into unease when she notices something, or rather, someone. Across the street, a shadowy figure stands in a window, watching. He's not doing anything, just staring. And somehow, that's worse. At first, Julia tries to brush it off. Maybe he's just a nosy neighbor, or maybe she's imagining it. But then, as if the universe wanted to dial up her paranoia, news breaks of a brutal serial killer terrorizing the city. Dubbed the Spider by the media, this murderer has been preying on women, stalking them before finally striking and decapitating them. The fact that Julia fits the victim profile doesn't do much to ease her nerves. The stalker, or a coincidence? One day, while walking around the city, Julia gets the distinct, gut-churning feeling that someone is following her. She turns corners, quickens her pace, even doubles back, only to confirm her worst suspicion. A man, always just a few steps behind. She ducks into a theater, hoping he won't follow. But when she glances over her shoulder, there he is, still watching. Later, at the supermarket, the same thing happens. When she tells Francis, he tries to reassure her, but it's clear he thinks she's overreacting. Still, he agrees to check the supermarket security footage with her. But when they review it, there's nothing concrete, just a man in the background, not doing anything obviously threatening. It's frustrating. The kind of thing where you know something is wrong, but there's no proof. And with each dismissive comment from Francis, Julia starts to feel like maybe she's losing her mind. A new friend and a test of courage. Desperate for some companionship, Julia befriends her neighbor Irina, an outgoing and independent woman who seems to understand her unease. Irina even shows off a pistol her boyfriend Christian gave her for protection, a small but powerful reminder that sometimes, fear is justified. That night, Julia decides to do something reckless. She stares straight at the man across the street and, just to see what happens, she waves. For a long moment, nothing. Then, slowly, he lifts his hand and waves back. Nope, 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 that's not normal. Terrified, Julia calls the police. An officer visits the man's apartment, but Francis later tells her there's nothing to worry about. Just a misunderstanding, nothing to see here. But Julia isn't convinced. A descent into obsession. Unable to shake her fear, Julia decides to flip the script. If this guy is watching her, she's going to watch him. One night, she follows him through the city streets, right into a dimly lit strip club. Turns out, he's not just some creepy neighbor, he's the janitor. While there, Julia spots Irina, who works at the club as a dancer. When Julia tells Irina about the man, she shrugs. She doesn't know much about him, just another guy working a dead-end job. That night, Julia has a terrifying dream of being strangled in her sleep. But when she wakes up, the real horror begins. She hears a scream. Then, a loud crash from Irina's apartment next door. Panicked, Julia rushes to get the landlady to unlock Irina's door. But when they step inside, everything seems normal. No sign of Irina. No struggle. Nothing. Julia starts to question whether she imagined it, until the next day, when Irina's boyfriend, Christian, arrives looking for her. She's vanished without a trace. That's when Julia makes a daring move. She convinces Christian to confront the janitor, knocking on his door. But no one answers. When Christian leaves, Julia takes one last shot at getting answers. She knocks again. This time, an elderly man opens the door. Confused and shaken, she gets in the elevator. And then, right before the doors close, she sees him, the janitor, staring. The truth comes knocking. That night, a police officer arrives at Julia's apartment, and he's not alone. Standing beside him is the janitor, whose name is Daniel Weber. But here's the twist, he's accusing her of stalking him. The officer shrugs off the entire thing as a misunderstanding. And to top it all off, Daniel extends his hand. Julia, horrified, shakes it. Then, just when she thinks things can't get any worse, Francis shows her a news report. The spider has been caught. So, does that mean Daniel isn't the killer? A party, a subway ride, and a deadly discovery. Julia accompanies Francis to a company party, but things take a turn when she overhears him joking about her paranoia to his coworkers. Humiliated, she leaves alone, taking the subway back home. But as the train car empties, she realizes she's not alone. Daniel is there. He tries to explain himself, that he watches her because he lives an isolated life, caring for his sick father. But as he talks, Julia notices something horrifying, his shopping bag. The shape inside looks disturbingly familiar, like a human head. Panicked, she rushes home to pack. But before she can leave, eerie music begins playing from Irina's apartment. When she goes to investigate, she finds Irina's headless body. And then, Daniel attacks. A final fight for survival. Julia wakes up, bound and barely able to breathe. Daniel calmly confesses how he killed Irina, how he hid her body in the apartment while Julia and the landlady were looking for her. It's all a sick game to him. Then, she hears Francis enter their apartment next door. Her chance to scream, her chance to survive. But the moment she tries, Daniel slashes her throat. Francis calls her phone. The ringtone echoes from Irina's apartment. And then, just as Daniel is leaving, Julia, clinging to life, grabs Irina's pistol and shoots him dead. Bloodied, shaken, but alive, she steps out of the apartment. Francis stares at her, speechless. And just like that, the nightmare is over. Final thoughts. If this movie taught us anything, it's that sometimes, your paranoia might just be justified. What did you think? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this recap, help the channel out by liking and subscribing. Until next time, stay safe, and maybe close your curtains at night.